everybody. Hope everyone is doing good. Thank you for checking in. And for those of you who don't know what Voices of Serenity is, so Voices of Serenity, what that is it's my show, it's my podcast, and it is for rape and sexual assault survivors to come together, talk. You know, this is a safe space, a safe zone, all of that. You know, where people can come together and they can talk about, you know, what's going on. They can talk about, you know, their journey, things like that. So that is what Voices of Serenity is. That's what it's for. So that way there, you know, survivors can come together and have a safe place to talk. So thank you for everyone checking in. So I'm going to basically kind of just like jump right into it. So today, and you know, she's going to be known as Anonymous. But today I had spoken to someone, to a young lady, and she wanted to ask me questions about something that, you know, about a topic that really is not talked about. It's very hush-hush. No one really talks about it. And I think it's something that's very important. Let me just shut this music off. Sorry. It's distracting me. Makes me want to dance. So this topic is very hush. This, I will say before I continue, this is explicit. If rape bothers you, don't tune in. This could be a possible trigger. So for those of you who don't, you know, want to hear these kind of things, then definitely don't continue any further than this. But one of the many things that I think is very, very, very important for, you know, survivors to talk about, or for people to talk to survivors about, is the rape fantasy. It's very, again, as I said, it's very unspoken. No one really talks about it, but I think it's very important, because rape fantasies from sexual assault survivors and rape survivors are actually really common. But it's one of those things where you feel disgusting, you feel ashamed, you feel guilty, you know, to have those thoughts or have those fantasies or have those feelings, you know. And it needs to be talked about. So, you know, this young lady, she had, you know, written me this morning, and we were talking about it. You know, she is a rape and sexual assault survivor, but, you know, she has these feelings of, you know, wanting it to be played out. You know, and it's not even so much like the danger part, you know, it's being taken over, having control, things like that, you know. That is common, that is normal. Should not feel ashamed at all. You know, a lot of women and men who go through this, they feel those things. They feel disgusted, they feel gross. Like, why am I having these thoughts? Why am I thinking this? Why do I want this played out? And sometimes they'll come out and they'll talk about it, but a lot of times people just keep it in. They don't really talk about it. You know, so the situation that had happened was that she, you know, she's in her early 20s. I'll say that. She's in her early 20s. And this happened when she was a teenager, her incident, you know, her abuse. And So she came out to her boyfriend about a month ago and told him everything, and with having these feelings and such. And at first, it was one of those things of, where her and her boyfriend, tried this out, this fantasy, and afterwards, he wound up keeping it hush-hush. He didn't say anything. And then he comes out and he's like, I don't feel comfortable with this. It makes me feel like I'm hurting you, like it's not okay. And he was kind of grossed out about, her feelings and her fantasy. And so, she reached out because she wanted to know if this was normal. So I was talking to her. I was talking to her on and off for a few hours. And, it is very normal. This is very common, And even though I was, talking to her about this, it's one of those things of, of course, I made sure she knew, that she wasn't alone. This thought process is common, because it is, and so then, I can go and tell her how I relate all I want, but and that's with anyone, you know what I mean? Like, those feelings, they are valid, and even her boyfriend's feelings, they're valid. You can relate to someone with prior trauma. You can relate to someone who, has PTSD, has anxiety, all of that, and you can. What is going on? Sorry, my phone is like acting weird. So, you can relate to all of that, so I'm a rape and sexual assault survivor. I have trauma, I have PTSD, I have anxiety, I have all of the above, But say, for example, if you were held at gunpoint, that's traumatic for you. That will give you anxiety, that will give you PTSD, that will give you night terrors and triggers, all of that. But I can't relate to that, because I've never had a gun pulled out on me. So you can relate to someone's trauma, like the boyfriend was trying to do with her. You can relate to it. But it's the simple fact of, if no one else has been through this in regards to a rape or sexual assault, they don't understand. And they can't relate on that level, And so oftentimes, when you're trying to come out and you're trying to talk about this and talk about your feelings and your, experience with this, they can try to understand. They can definitely, sympathize with you in regards to your feelings, in regards to, the trauma, PTSD, anxiety, all of that. But unless someone's really been there and they've really gone through that, they don't understand. And they're not going to. But again, that's fine, It's okay to try to talk to somebody and them not be able to understand. But that shouldn't stop you or anyone from talking about it, because you should, So, I don't know what's going on with this. Sorry. You still shouldn't shut yourself down. You still shouldn't, close off, close down, things like that, you should still talk about it because it's important, you know. It helps, you know, and whether you're in a relationship, whether it's with your family, talk about it, you know, but in your own pace, if that makes sense. So, you know, talk about it in your pace, on your watch, on your time. You know, if you have to, you know, if you're starting a conversation and then you stop because you're feeling overwhelmed, or, you know, your anxiety's through the roof, or you're starting to feel, you know, triggered, then stop. Continue it another day when you're feeling better, you know. And that's fine. You know, again, in your pace, in your time. When you talk about things like this, it can be triggering. It can bring night terrors. It can bring flashbacks. It can bring all of that into play when you talk about it. But it's healthy. It helps, you know, you as a survivor to heal, to cope, to better understand things. And it also helps whoever you're talking to about that as well. You know, whether it is your spouse or whether it is your family. You know, I know that a lot of times, you know, oftentimes people, you know, survivors, they don't want to talk about it. You know, almost within like the same situation as, you know, reporting. Not everyone does. Not everyone wants to talk about it. That's fine. You know, but again, at your own pace, on your own terms, because this is your journey. This is your journey. This is your story. You are in full control of it. So, if you're wanting to take a break when you start talking, you want to take a break, you want to talk about it like an hour later after you calm down, or you want to talk about it the next day, next week, whatever, that's fine. You know, that's okay. You can do that, you know, but it's very important for yourself to talk about it, you know, but again, on your own terms. Your own terms, your pace. That's all on you, you know, because you need to make sure that you feel comfortable. You need to make sure that you feel safe within talking about it. So, you know, again, it's very important. But you know, so I was doing research in regards to these fantasies because, you know, I could talk to somebody all day long about my personal experience, my personal feelings, and that does help. Don't get me wrong. That does help to know that someone can relate, to know that someone understands you're not crazy, you know, so it helps. But, oh yeah, I know, this wall is crazy. I hate it. I lost my train of thought. You're funny. So, you know, with these fantasies, again, as I said before, they are common. You know, you're not alone within having these thoughts, you know, having these feelings. They are, again, very common with both men and women who are survivors to this. But again, you know, I could I could sit here, and talk about my personal experience, my thought process. It helps, but, it helps to know why. Because a lot of times when you're going through this and you have these thoughts and you have this, image in your head of having, rape fantasies while you're a survivor, you don't understand why. You feel gross, you feel sick, and it's, oh my gosh, how could I ever think this way after I'd gone through something? And so, I wound up doing a lot of research today, so that way there, I can bring, up stuff. So that way there, maybe it will try to make sense. So I am gonna read some of that because it's very important. This is stuff that we need to talk about. So, and I have it pulled up right here. Where is it? So, this one section in it, it says, some women fantasize during sex about being out of control or forced to have sex. Fantasies are images or scenes that produce enjoyable feelings. Many women have had rape fantasies before the assault happened, but that doesn't mean that the women, wanted to be raped or wants to be raped again. Rape fantasies during sex can represent many things, but in fantasy, the person doing the fantasizing is totally in control of the consent and the stopping and starting of the action. So that right there, that explains a lot of it. And that was what I explained to the anonymous person, the anonymous young lady that I was talking to today. You're trying to have an outer body experience, basically, because that's kind of what it is almost. Like, you're there, but you're not there. Unfortunately, within rape and sexual assault, you don't have full control. Your abuser does. But when you're having these feelings and you're having these fantasies and you want them played out, you're in control. And you're basically trying to regain that control through this. You can say stop, you can say go, you can have a safe word, you can have all of that there for you because you are in control. And you're trying to take back your identity, you're trying to take back your sexuality, all of that, all of the above you're trying to take back by regaining control. And that is why after, a rape or sexual assault, you oftentimes hear of men and women, going on this, crazy sex binge, because they're trying to regain control of what wasn't there before. All the control that they lost, they're taking it back, and, as I explained to her, this is very common, and, she explained to me about how she felt gross and, to have this gross feeling, and it's not. It really isn't. It's not. I think that these, topics like this should be talked about more. I think topics like this should be brought to light more because, sadly and unfortunately with rape and sexual assault, molestation, all of those things, they are hush hush. While, you hear of rape and you hear sexual assault, it seems like it's very cut and dry with what is discussed. People, they don't want to feel ashamed. They don't want to feel guilty. They feel like, they're letting people down if they talk about it. Like their family, who they're with, you feel gross. And you also feel like you don't want to put the burden of talking about it on other people. Oftentimes people, and I know that I made mention of this before, but, not everyone gets the chance of going and seeing a therapist. I think people should. It'll help. But people also need to realize too that when you see a therapist and you're talking to someone, whether it's a therapist or a psychiatrist or counselor, you may not always click with that person. They may bring on triggers. They may bring on, just being uncomfy, and sadly, unfortunately, I feel like that is a reason why, as to why people don't continue treatment. If you are not comfortable with a therapist, psychiatrist, counselor, whoever it is that you're talking to, if you're not comfortable, you don't have to continue on with that person. It is in your right to see another person. And it really is. And a lot of people, I feel like it's really sad because a lot of people, they don't realize that. They don't realize that it's within their right to do so, to change. Again, they'll feel guilty, but your mental health, your mental well-being is so important that, if you feel uncomfortable with this person, pick another one. Oftentimes it can be a trial and error, but you owe it to yourself, your, mental well-being, your emotional well-being, for your own sake. You owe it to yourself to find the right one. Whether it is a man or whether it is a woman, it doesn't matter. As long as you're comfortable talking and it doesn't, it isn't toxic for you, keep going. It's trial and error. Quite a few years ago, I thought that way too. I was seeing this therapist and I didn't like him. Nope. I didn't like him at all, and he was triggering for me. And it got to the point where I got tired of it. I didn't want to deal with him. I didn't want to open up. I didn't want to talk about it. And so I gave up on it. And I had the mindset and train of thought of, therapy doesn't work. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's a joke. And so I stopped going for a while, and I wasn't able to heal the way I needed to. And don't get me wrong, I'm still really not. I cope a lot better because after a few years of, not going because I thought it was bullshit, I decided to go again. My night terrors were getting worse. My triggers were getting worse. My reaction to things, how I felt, it was all getting worse. And so I did. I wound up, finding someone else. And she is amazing. She's a lifesaver, basically. And I say that wholeheartedly. She is a lifesaver. I'm also, how do I want to say it? I'm also a suicide attempt survivor. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to lie. And that happens with a lot of survivors. But because I knew that within my mental state that I wasn't okay, and I knew that I really needed to do something about it. I mean, I have babies, to look after and who need their mom. So I gave it a shot. I tried someone else. And because of it being trial and error. And I'm so thankful that I did. I'm so thankful that I gave it another try. Because she's been great. So always remember that you are in full control of that. Always remember that it is trial and error. And you can go see other people. You really can. So definitely keep that in mind. I feel like when it comes to rape and sexual assault, people don't want to talk about it. They really don't. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to make sense of things. It's kind of just rape. It's kind of just sexual assault. And that's it. And that's why, excuse me, that is why I started this. Because, sorry, my phone's going crazy. I don't know why. So, that's why I started this. So that way there, people can talk about it. People can be comfortable talking about it. Because, honestly, rape isn't something that is comfortably talked about. Sexual abuse isn't something that is comfortably talked about. People oftentimes just disregard it, throw it away, is what it is. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. I've noticed through a lot of research that I've done, through a lot of things that I've read, through a lot of things that I have seen, it is so sad and so disheartening that here we are in the year 2020 that a lot of individuals, men and women, they don't understand rape. They don't understand sexual assault. And there needs to be more education on this. There needs to be more help with this. The stigma needs to end, honestly. This should be something that people can talk about. This should be, a subject that people can have a conversation on. And not feel ashamed about it either. Not feel guilty about it. Not feel disgusting about it. Have an actual conversation about it. Which again is why I do this. Because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. And even if there isn't people who want to join me within talking about this, as long as they are listening and they know that they're not alone, then I know I did my job. I know I did my part. I didn't have people to talk to when I went through mine. You know, with my first abuser, I didn't talk about it. I didn't. And especially with my second, nope, no one knew at all. Not a soul knew until probably like last month when I decided to free myself and talk about, you know, my sexual assault in middle school. You know, it seems like these topics are very hush-hush. It seems like they are very behind closed doors, so to speak. You know, and I guess in a way that's okay, because it is, you know, don't get me wrong, it is. But, you know, we need to talk about it more. We need to bring it to light. You know, I need all of the survivors to know and understand that, you know, you're safe. And sadly and unfortunately, while a lot of people in a lot of places and things of that nature, they look at rape and sexual assault as a joke, it's not here. It's very serious. And, you know, if you want to come out and talk about it, you're more than welcome to. If you're wanting me to share your story because you feel like it'll help other people, I'll talk about it. You know, it's just rape and sexual assault need to be spoken of more. Oh, thank you. You know, rape and sexual assault should not be something that is awkward feeling. It should not be, you know, you should be able to freely talk about it. And you really should. You know, when I came out like last month and I talked about my sexual assault that happened in middle school, you know, I cried my eyes out after the show. You know, I bawled. I hyperventilated. But I felt so free. I felt so liberated. Like I felt like I took 10 million pounds off my shoulders because I had kept it in for so long because I didn't talk about it. You know? Thank you, Paul. Sounds good. You know, I didn't talk about it. I didn't want anyone to know, you know, because when my first rape and sexual assault happened, it was by someone in the Navy. And my sexual assault that happened when I was in middle school, it happened by a police officer. So I thought to myself, yet again, here's another guy in a uniform. Nobody's going to do shit. If nobody didn't do anything the first time, ain't nothing going to happen this time. And that was my train of thought. That was my thought process. That was my feelings. And so I didn't talk about it to anyone. No one knew until like last month. And that is why I want to make sure, you know, that people feel like they have a safe place to go, a safe place to talk about this. While everyone who doesn't understand rape and sexual assault, because maybe they haven't been through it, they may not know and understand what it's like, it's still okay to talk about it. But again, as I made mention earlier, in your own pace, you know, in your time, on your own pace, you know, if you go to talk about something that happened to you, you're overwhelmed, your anxiety's through the roof, you're being triggered, it's okay to be like, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to talk about this right now. We'll move on. You know, and you change the subject, but then you want to pick it up like a few days later, that's okay. It really is. It's okay. Because as I say, you know, and as I've made mention before, this is your journey. This is your story. You write it. And you can tell your story at your own pace. And you really can. You know, here with Voices of Serenity, I always say survivors healing together, because that is what it is. You know, that is what we do here. You know, if you know you need to talk to me, you know, you can do that. And I've made so many different ways, you know, for people to reach out. You can reach out via, you know, the number that I have, which is 607-218-2180. And you can call day or night. I'll answer. If you need help with resources, I can help you. If you need to scream, if you need to cry, if you need to just let the world, you know, off your shoulders for a minute, I got you. Because this is all about healing together, you know. On my Facebook page, Voices of Serenity, I have the anonymous box. So if, you know, say you didn't want to come to me, you know, personally and share your story, but you still want to share it, you still want to get it off your chest, you can do that. On the Facebook page, there's an anonymous box. And I've used that myself on, you know, in a different Facebook group, and they didn't know who I was. So I know for 100% that it is anonymous. I don't even know who you are when you write me. I don't know who you are. You know, and we could talk about it. You know, any way that you need to get a hold of me, you can. You know, and, you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I am with an amazing group of people with, you know, at Bikers Against Abuse International. And, you know, if, say, for example, if you're more comfortable talking to a guy, I can make that happen. You know, sometimes survivors, they feel comfortable talking to someone else. You know, if I can't do it and I need help and guidance with helping you, I have an amazing group of people that I work with that can help. You know, but again, you know, as I made mention before, you know, for those of you who are, you know, tuning in now, earlier in my show I had talked about, you know, sexual assault and rape survivors having rape fantasies, as blunt as that may sound. It's very common. It really is. You know, and I can't thank you enough, you know, for the anonymous person who wrote me today to talk about it. It needs to be talked about. People need to understand that it is common. People need to understand that you're not gross. You're not sick in the head, you know, all of the above. You are okay. You know, it's very common. And, you know, if you need to talk about it, I'm here. I will help you, you know, guide you through all of this. You know, if I have to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning to talk to you, I'll do it. If that's what you need. You know, because as I've said before, this is survivors healing together. Rape, sexual assault, molestation. We're all in this together. When you're going through something, you feel like you're alone. You feel like no one understands you. You feel like the whole world is out to get you, upside down. You don't know your left from your right. Just everything feels messed up. And, it's okay to have those feelings. It's okay. It's just okay. You're not crazy or any of that, which is why, it's important to reach out. So that whether you yourself can understand that you're not alone, all of that. So, I really feel like these are things that need to be talked about. Rape and sexual assault is too swept under the rug. It's not discussed enough. I feel like everyone needs more education on it. Because, as I said before, here we are in the year 2020, and rape and sexual assault can be very confusing for people to understand it, to know. Even if you went through it, sometimes you don't even understand until like many years later. Say for example, if you're with a spouse, and they raped you. A lot of people don't understand, men and women, okay? This isn't just women, this is men and women. Spouses don't realize that because it was your husband that raped you, that it was rape, because it was from your spouse. And same thing with men, and it's really sad to know that there are so many people who still don't believe that marital rape or spouse rape is a thing. That's heartbreaking. Because it is. That is a real thing. It's, sorry, my phone's going crazy. Marital rape, that's real. Spousal rape, that's real. All of these things are real. Just because it's by someone you love, it can happen. And some people may not realize that until years later. That's okay. Obviously it's not okay that it happened, because that should never be there. But, if you found out years later, that's okay, because, you can be properly educated, you can be properly guided within this. But because of the lack of education and knowledge that people have within this subject, they don't know. They don't understand. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. Like, a lot of people, when they think that, when they think of rape or sexual assault, they view it as you're walking down the street and some guy pulls you into an alley and rapes you behind a dumpster or something like that. People don't expect it from the people you love or the people you know, because a lot of times it's by someone it's by someone you trust. And it happens. Doesn't mean, and because you know them, and because you love them, you respect them, whatever, it's not your fault at all. Bottom line, when a rape or a sexual assault happens, it is not your fault. It's not your fault because of something you wore. It's not your fault because of something you said. Your morals, religion, any of that. That's no excuse for a rape or sexual assault to happen. People need to remember that. People need to understand that too. You could be wearing the shortest, smallest, tightest black dress you could ever imagine. That doesn't make it okay for someone to rape you. That does not make it okay for someone to sexually assault you or sexually abuse you. You could be wearing the bummiest clothes, pajamas, sweatpants, whatever. That doesn't make it okay for it to happen. If, you say something, that doesn't make it okay to happen. People need to respect other people's boundaries, their space, everything like that. People need to start respecting it. People need to, know those things. And it's very important, whether you are or whether you're not a rape survivor or, sexual assault survivor, it's very important for, if you get into a new relationship or even a friendship, because a lot of friends will take that shit overboard. Friends will push that button. So it's not just, spouses, it's your friends too. Don't be ashamed and don't feel bad to have a boundaries talk with whoever it is. You need to set boundaries for yourself, and that's okay. Because of you having self-respect, set those boundaries for people. It'll also, put in perspective of what you expect and what you don't expect from these people, but it helps you as well, And, don't ever feel ashamed of making boundaries. Don't ever feel ashamed of making rules for yourself. And like I said, and that's with spouses and friends. It really is. But I really want everyone to know here that, you're not alone. And if you need someone to reach out to, I'm always here. Always. Like I said, I can also help refer you to an amazing group of people as well. With BAA, Bikers Against Abuse International. There's so many resources that can be given. It's unbelievable. You don't ever have to go through this alone. You don't ever have to feel alone. If you need to be picked up because you fell, I got you. We got you. So, like I said, always here. Always. So that's pretty much it for tonight. I'll probably go live again here in the next couple days. So definitely don't forget to click the button to turn on notifications for Voices of Serenity, so that way there you can be notified. As of last night, I'm on a bunch of different platforms. Apple Tunes, I'm on. I have a YouTube page. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Anchor. Like a whole bunch of other stuff. I will be updating the website, threadsofserenity.com, which is my, Serenity sister. I will be updating the website, so that way there people know that they can go listen on other platforms. Excuse me. So, always here. So, I hope everyone is staying safe, staying sane, and staying healthy. And thank you for all of your support and all the listeners out there. And I will see you later. Bye.